Okay, everyone can see my screen? Yes? If you can't, let me know in the chat. Make sure that recording as well. Great. Okay, so I'm super excited to be sharing about this topic, corporate to entrepreneurship, for those who have been with me since the beginning when I was organizing events in DC. I think I did this workshop about like 4 years ago, in a very different way that didn't have any astrology to it. So super excited to be sharing it from an astrological point of view. So we've done our grounding meditation. I'm going to share a little bit about my story. I'm going to speak to you about the timing of when you might want to leave your job if you are still in your corporate job, as well as kind of like when you might start your business idea, those types of things, as well as what your business idea might look like. And then we're going to talk about reading a business birth chart. Just like you have your own birth chart, your business has a birth chart as well. And then if we have time, we'll do some Q&A. All right. So I haven't always been an astrologer. I started my career in communications, in social media. I actually did exactly what I studied. I majored in communications. I minored in East Asian studies at Boston University, and I went to Shanghai right after graduation to work at a hotel, starting their social media department, and then working at Publicis, a really big like PR company, doing social media business development in Asia Pacific, residing in Shanghai. That's like where I spent most of my 20s. And at the start of my career, I was like, wow, like this is so great. Like in Shanghai, because it's a developing market, different now because that was like so long ago. There were just so many jobs available. It was just so crazy how you could just get a new job, like, and switch a new job every 6 to 12 months, and people did that. And there weren't enough people who knew about social media and how to apply that through, like, for marketing and PR. And so it was kind of like the wild, wild west. So I had a lot of fun building programs, building campaigns for Hilton in Shanghai, and then at the APAC level. So really everything looked great on paper. But as I was nearing my mid 20s, I began to just feel like I don't know if I could do this for 30, 40 years of my life. Because at that point, all of my peers and clients, they were like 10 plus years older than me, at least. And I just like saw the way that they worked. I was just like, I don't know if I could work on these types of campaigns for the rest of my life. And so I began an existential crisis. And it was really kind of like the precursor to my Saturn return. So for those who don't know about your Saturn return, it happens a couple times in your life. First one is your late 20s, early 30s. So people experience a lot of changes for their career during this time. It's really known as like that official entry into adulthood. And then you experience another one in your mid to late 50s and then mid to late 80s. And your Saturn return always has a lot of changes related to career. It's about understanding the hard work that you need to put in to get to where you want to go. And if you're not in the right place, the universe will put you into the right place. And for myself, Saturn was transiting my fourth house. So what that means is my lessons for my Saturn return were acutely around like family, and also around belief systems, because my Saturn is in Sagittarius and the way of living and working. So when I was like 26, 27, I moved back to the United States. I moved back home. I started an e-commerce business with my friends. I was living at home. So all of these lessons were kind of just like coming in all different directions. And by the end of my Saturn return, I started Woo Woo Company. It was an events business based in Washington, D.C. Excuse me. Um, that was really positioned to help people understand, like, oh, like all these different holistic wellness things, spirituality, how can it help you find your purpose and help you feel just like more fulfilled and aligned in your life. And that was like 6, 7 years ago. And the last few years, I've really focused on astrology. And I discovered astrology probably around like 7, 8 years ago. And I remember the first time that I really dove into my chart and looked at the placements that would give me insights about career and business. And I was really shocked and blown away. I think that if you had told me, even like 8, 9 years ago that I would be starting this type of company, I would be very, very surprised because at that point I knew that I wanted to do something eventually in wellness, like maybe have my own like bar studio, yoga studio, something like that. But it was never going to be something like very spiritual and something astrology. So fast forward, I kind of really looked to astrology to help guide me through my Saturn return and manage like all the like challenges that come up during that time. And on the end of my Saturn return, I realized I was like, wow, like astrology and mindfulness and like Akashic records, all these different things were so helpful in helping me figure out what I wanted to do and then ultimately helping to build my business that I wanted to share it with others. And that's why we're here today. So I can give you some insights to help you wherever you are in your career journey. Okay, so let's talk about timing. Now is a good time to pull up your free or expanded career astrology report. So we actually had a full moon in Capricorn on July 10th last week. It was also on the Monday, so on the 7th, Uranus moving into Gemini. So the week prior, as well as like last week, you may have felt a little bit frenetic all over the place, especially if you see Gemini and Capricorn in your chart. So if you go to chart properties and you see, oh, does Gemini or Capricorn show up, let's say like three or more times, as well as the number 3 or 10 in the house column, then you might have been feeling a little bit more affected last week. I know that I definitely was, especially like the week before, because Uranus is a very disruptive planet. And full moons bring a lot of emotions. It's a culmination point. And in the sign of Capricorn, there is a lot around success, around hard work, around your career, around a potential business that you want to run or are currently running. And so last week, some of you may have felt like, okay, it's time to leave my job, or it's time to start that side hustle or business idea. Something shifted for all of us when it comes to career. And if you have a Capricorn in your second house, your sixth house, your 10th house, or midheaven, this affected you a lot more. And I see people kind of popping into the chat. Yeah, please let me know your comments in there. I'll check it in a moment of like how you felt. Even if you just want to share like where you are currently in your career journey, I would love to know. So that was a time that you could have felt like, okay, like it's time. I'm ready to leave. And also sometimes the universe gives us these opportunities and you may have been laid off, maybe like shifted into a part-time or a consultancy role in your company, or it might kind of be in the works right now. So at the end of August through September, there's something that's I've coined like a career glow portal for those of you who did the New Year intention setting sound bath with astrology forecast at the start of the year. So we have back-to-back new moons in Virgos. On August 22nd and September 24th. So really I see it as a career glow up portal. Why? Because Virgo is the sign that is related to like how you get things done. It's known as one that is very, very hard working and specifically is the one that people kind of, if you are a Virgo, people go to you to help you solve, like help solve problems. They're very operational, like efficient. They just get the job done. They're really good, like chief of staffs, like operation managers, like director of operations, project managers, like account leads, that type of stuff. And so what I really see at the end of August, moving into September. Now, this is also going to be eclipse season. Eclipse season brings a lot of changes. Now, think back to what March was like for you. It's going to be kind of like a similar energy, but we're really going to be pushed to really take a hard look at our routines and our rituals, personally and professionally. How do we work? Who do we work with? Because in the sixth house, which is ruled by Virgo, there's going to be a lot of changes of just like how we get things done. So I also really feel like there's going to be a big reshuffling during this time. Already this year, in the last few years, we've seen a lot of shakeups in tech. This year, specifically around government, people are starting to realize there is no such thing as job safety. And being a multi-hyphenate, having multiple income streams, not only feels financially abundant, but it also feels more aligned to understanding the multifaceted, the multidimensional beings that we are. We have many different interests. We want to do different things, and we're entering a place of the multi-hyphenate, no longer just being one thing. Like you can work a corporate job, you can have like a business, you can also be a speaker, a writer, have a hobby, and like be a ceramist or a painter, or a pianist. Like we're just so many different things. So I'm super excited because, during this time, we're also going to be pushed to have better work-life balance, to understand, to step away from burnout. That's going to be a really important thing as well. Now, the last thing about timing that I'll say is if there is a new or full moon affecting your sixth house. Now, the sixth house, like I said before, is ruled by Virgo. And anytime a client comes to me and I see that there's going to be like a full moon that hits like their sixth house, I'm like, okay, there's going to be like big changes, because this is a time where you might be celebrating a new job offer, starting a new business, or you might be let go of your job, or you decide like, I no longer want this job anymore. Because again, the sixth house is all about like our daily routines. It's about our coworkers, it's about our work environment, it's about like wellness, health, nutrition, that type of stuff. Okay, let me pause and see what questions. Okay. All right. Okay, we have people like already leaving their job. Amazing. Starting an AI meditation app. Gemini moon in the eighth house. Uranus and Scorpio in the first house. Okay, a Virgo rising. Okay, Gemini rising with a Saturn, Vesta, and Fortuna in Gemini and Capricorn North Node with Jupiter in Capricorn. Yes, awesome, amazing. More entrepreneurship, taking leadership over my life. Uranus in your third house in Scorpio. Saturn in Cancer, 11th house, working part-time, like just start with my company. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so Chiron and Gemini in the sixth house for Danielle. When you have your Chiron in the sixth house, it means you're doing a lot of healing around activating your voice at work. You always have something in the sixth house, even if you don't have any planets. We have every single sign represented in our birth chart. Okay. And that is going to be the next slide. So here are all the zodiac signs so you can see, because I know sometimes like it can be really confusing. Like when I first started, I was like Virgo, Scorpio, Capricorn. They look so similar. So you want to get your handy dandy chart here, and you want to look at the sixth house. You may have more than one sign in the sixth house. So in this example, this person has Pisces and they have Aries. And I put the zodiac signs here so you can kind of follow along and see. So take a look to see the sixth house. Do you have Pisces? Do you have Taurus? What signs do you have for the sixth house? I want you to take a note of that and know that when there is a new moon or a full moon that's in any of those signs, that is a time that's very potent and powerful for you. Natalie says her sixth house Pluto transit, so lots of changes, because Pluto is a planet of lots of change and transformation. Okay, N has Taurus in the sixth, Venus in Pisces in the fourth. With Taurus in the sixth, you like to have a very kind of like predictable work environment. Sixth house Aries. Day, she likes like excitement, always wanting to take the lead, change things. Like you probably always find that your work environment is a little bit too slow for you and you enjoy taking the lead. Bianca as well makes sense because I know Bianca. Oh, Sophia, a massive stellium in the sixth house. So if you have a stellium, which is three or more planets in the sixth house, this is actually a very potent year for you as well as next year, just because we have the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo. So a lot of changes will affect Sophia, particularly when it comes to how she gets work done. It's a collective thing. But if you have like Virgo or Pisces in your chart or the number 6 or 12, like it affects you so much more. And it's totally fine if it's empty. It just means that there isn't kind of like an extra emphasis in your birth chart around this, but it still affects you. So with like Pisces and Aries, like doing something creative at work, but also allowing yourself to take the lead and have leadership roles and autonomy is going to be really important. And Habiba with her son in the sixth house, like her job, her daily routine, who she works with, her work environment is very, very important to her. And Alexis with Gemini in the sixth house, you need a lot of variety and you enjoy engaging and talking with people. Jody with a sixth house in Scorpio, we've spoken about this before. Um, Scorpios, any type of Scorpio placement, especially in the sixth house, you would do really well consulting. Because oftentimes, if you have, let's say, Scorpio in your sixth house, people can be jealous of you at work. You can be misunderstood at work. You can do your job too well. Yes. Okay, moving on. So I don't have a list of the new and the full moons for you here, but it's like easy for you to Google. And those in the membership, you have your calendar, and you can refer to the calendar. Just like search in the calendar for the new moons and the full moons that directly affect you. Okay, so let's talk about the entrepreneurship placements. These are ones really just off the top of my head through the many readings I've done for clients. I covered this in the last free career astrology workshop as well, but I'll be able to spend some more time on these. Now, it's really important to note that when I'm doing these workshops and also when I'm sharing content on social media, I'm only able to talk about one thing so that people can see and experience astrology and how it can help them in their career and business in a more bite-sized way. But astrology is very complex, it's very nuanced. You can drill down a lot. And so this is not an exhaustive list of, oh, like if I have these, then I'm naturally like inclined for entrepreneurship. So I want you to like be aware of that. So Scorpio in the big three, Scorpio or an eighth house stellium. Again, like what I mentioned before, it was a good segue for Jody, is what I find is that if you have Scorpio for your sun, your moon, your rising, or your those like planets and luminaries are in the eighth house, as well as if you have North Node in Scorpio, I find that it can be a little bit challenging for you to be working in a traditional environment, especially since so many of our workplaces are still very traditional and are in a state of change and transformation, because Scorpio is a sign that sees the truth very clearly and sometimes like doesn't have like a filter. So when they see a problem, they want to fix it. They want to be like highlighting it, like, let's do this, let's make the changes. But not everybody is always ready. And so it's so important if you have a Scorpio placement to be very discerning about what are people not saying. They may say like, oh, where you're going to get the headcount that you need. You're going to like be able to expand in this way, or we're going to be able to promote you, but they may not. They're also very, very intuitive and very psychic. Fatima says, I'm in North Node in Aries. You've been through a lot of changes over the last few years. Scorpio stellium. So yeah, sick of the 9 to 5. And then Day has Scorpio, a Pluto in Scorpio, rising and also moon. Yeah. I figured a bunch of you would be in here. Those that would kind of like fit this list. Mm, so if you are like going to stay in a corporate job or need to stay for a little bit longer with a Scorpio placement, it's really about just like managing the people, managing expectations. And I think a big theme for all of us this year is unless, you're only working for yourself right now, I would say you should really care less about work. You should really, really care less because, yes, you should do a good job at your job, but you are so much more than the 9 to 5, and it's more important than ever before to really understand how to build your own wealth and how to really allow yourself to grow and to find something that is fulfilling, even if it's just doing something like on the side and exploring. And I know that many of you on this call I've spoken to like have that going on already. So now we have like Capricorn or a 10th house stellium. Now, Capricorn is the sign that really represents like career and business. At the same time, they can be quite traditional, so they might not want to, take risks and do other things, but eventually they do have a desire to build and to want to create something of value. I think that's a really big difference. Scorpio placements get irritated because they are so ambitious. They're just like, well, I'm not able to do anything. Like I'm blocked in. Like I want to do all these things, I want to make all these changes, but I don't have enough control. I don't have enough autonomy. Capricorn, on the other hand, might be like, I'm working really hard, but I don't see my efforts being recognized, or like, I don't think my values are aligned with the company values. Now, our other friend, Aries. Aries is one that gets impatient. They think that there can be a better way of doing things. And a lot of times they're just like, okay, things are too slow. I want to do things my own way, but people are getting in the way. Like, let's say, even if you were the CEO, you're like, well, there's a board that I need to report to. There's like investors, there's like external stakeholders. Like, there's just too many people, and we're moving too slowly. So, where Scorpio is like, I'm frustrated because I'm too ambitious for what is available to me at work, and Capricorn is like, am I working hard, like in the ways that really matter? Aries is the one that's impatient and really wants to be a visionary and pave the way. And so the rest of the list is just other iterations of like Aries and Capricorn and Scorpio. And I want to know in the chat if some of you already I see like have a couple of these like combinations, or how you felt so far, like in your job, or if you've already started a business or a side hustle. Nothing right now? Okay, I'll keep an eye on the chat. Oh, Lily says, Capricorn rising, just quit my job and looking into starting my own business. Congratulations. Looks like the full moon in Capricorn really affected you. Amazing. I love that for you. Okay, so let's talk about business ideas. So the North Node can give you a lot of different insights to the lessons you're learning in this lifetime, as well as different ideas for work. Now, it's important to note that it manifests in very different ways. Oh, hold on. I just got like a bunch of your messages here. There might be a lag. Katie says started a side hustle and currently going through some transitions in your job, not by choice. More to come with that career glow up time because there's going to be a lot of like reorgs and reporting line changes in September. Day says left corporate world in 2022. It's been a journey, but figuring it out. Yeah, it is. Yes, definitely been a journey. I just realized I've left the corporate world like 10 years ago. It's a wild time. And says, what if I only have a north node, one of these, which means I'm yet to develop these abilities, still can't pull the trigger. Oh, that is so normal because the north node, it's meant to be uncomfortable. It's meant to be really stretchy. Although I have to admit, I've done a couple charts for like children under 5, like 1 or 2, and I do see that like the new souls coming in, they have a better and more balanced way of understanding and embracing like what they're meant to be doing in this lifetime versus like what I've seen like just pattern wise, like the older we are, like let's say I'm doing a reading for someone who's like 50 or 60, there oftentimes there's a kind of like a dissonance of like who they are and like what their North Node really wants them to be. But it's getting better with each generation. MC says North Node and Capricorn, getting ready for my prototype. Exciting, Natalie. I have had my own companies, now only a job, and my own company does not come from the ground. More to come. Stellium Sagittarius plus North Node in Sagittarius. Ooh, yes. Like travel, international stuff, writing, speaking, teaching. Carlene says North Node in Cancer, seventh house. Um, it can only be in one of the houses. Maybe it's on the edge. Danielle, Northwood in Pisces in the second house. You're going through a nodal return right now, so lots of exciting changes. Bianca, so much distance between my sun and North Node. Virgo sun and Pisces North Node. Ah, yes. I know Bianca's chart. It is challenging because I'll speak about this later too, to how to identify like your south node. I find that if you have a north node in Pisces and a south node in Virgo, and you don't have a lot of like water signatures in your chart, it can be very challenging to embrace like intuition and find low ease and flow. Haley says I did 5 things from that list, including North Node and Capricorn in the eighth house. Really, really happy that you are here. Okay. Oh, Northern in Cancer in the sixth house. Ah, yes, lots of changes here. Okay, so let's get into it. So the South Node is past lives. It's like things that you're really naturally good at. And when you're feeling stuck, not only in your like 9 to 5, but in your business, it's because you're doing and focusing too much on your South Node characteristics and skills and not having enough emphasis on those North Node characteristics and getting uncomfortable. So the North Node, I have an example. The example is me. North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo. So my entire career, I've always been like an account manager, like organizing things, making sure that, lists are being made, like Excels and just like different standard operating procedures, like just making sure everything is on the rails and being behind the scenes. And when I started this business about 6, 7 years ago, a big difference was I was still doing all of the like behind the scenes stuff, fixing things, like organizing events and like showcasing other people. But I started to explore more of what it would look like if I was the teacher and I was the one sharing. And so I started doing sound baths, I was teaching yoga, like hosting different types of workshops that I thought were really interesting and really sharing like what really helped me during that time. Let's see these comments. Robin, I have the same North and South node, and I love Excel. Yes, Taryn. I don't have the South node on the free report. Don't worry, that'll be like the next slide or two to help you find your South node. And so what I've really needed to learn is to have like more faith and trust, letting go of the need to control and to know what is the next step. And so I've moved away from roles that require me to be that product and project manager and one that is much more creative. And I'm just a very, let's say, quintessential example of what that looks like in terms of I'm an astrologer, I have like my own business, and I really share astrology and spirituality in a very grounded and practical way. So it like combines the North Node and South Node. And this is a very organized presentation. I like to keep it nice and tight for those who have been to these workshops before. I'm always just like, it's always around an hour. Like other ones I've done, there's like 2 hours. I'm like, who has 2 hours? Like, we don't have 2 hours. Let's just get, the core information that needs to be shared. Okay, let's see. It says North Node in Virgo. So yes, you're going through a reverse nodal return in the 12th house. Very nuanced, very interesting. Yes, you should definitely get the expanded report. It's currently 50% off. Habiba, North Node in Virgo in the 11th house. Also going through a reverse nodal return. And what that means is you are learning how to tap into your intuition and ground your intuition and the ideas and the imagination and all that into reality to create what you want to create in this lifetime. So systems is very important to those with the North Node in Virgo. Okay, I think this one, two more slides, and then I'll have the one that says what's the North and the South Node. So the North Node can manifest in a couple different ways in your life. So the first one is going to be in a career and a job. You might be working in a job or have a business that directly relates to your North Node sign like me, or it's like lessons in character development. You're working on embodying the characteristics of your North Node sign. So perhaps like, you're not becoming like a healer or an artist with a North Node in Pisces, but you are learning how to be more creative. You're developing creative hobbies and you're cultivating your intuition. Okay, opposite signs. So if you have a North Node in Scorpio, that means your South Node is in Taurus. It's always opposite of one another. So a North Node in Sagittarius is a South Node in Gemini. You get the idea. So I'll pause here to make sure that you can figure out what's your North Node and your South Node. Like a North Node in Aquarius, that means South Node in Leo. Jody, North Node in Taurus. That means your South Node is in Scorpio. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yes, your South Node in Scorpio. South is Virgo. Okay. So, actually, interestingly enough, what I really believe is if you don't feel like your big three, your sun, your moon, your rising is easy to relate to, I always really recommend that you look at your South Node. I honestly think, and like, I forget where I have this graphic. I think I have it. Oh yeah, I have it in like my one of my like courses, my career astrology 101 course. But I view the South Node as the core of who you are. At times when like people don't understand you or you don't understand yourself, you're like, why am I this way? And a lot of times it's like when someone has a South Node in Aries and there's no Aries in their chart, they're like, I don't know why, but I always kind of feel a little bit angry or like impatient or just like kind of want to do things my own way. Like super hyper independent and people don't understand. Like, I don't even understand that part of myself. Like, the South Node can give you a lot of insights to kind of like this natural programming that you came into this life with. And for myself, like I have Virgo as my South Node. So I'm like very particular about things. I like to keep a schedule. If the schedule has changed, I'm like, this is terrible. But I've learned to really kind of like let that go and be like, it's okay. Just because it's different doesn't mean that it's bad. Day says, Sagittarius, North Node, South Node, and Gemini. I think I need to embrace expansion. Yes, you do. My South Node and Gemini friends, they grew up in a very close family, or like a small town. And they're always constantly being invited to go out into the world, to explore, to live abroad, to travel. And it can be very uncomfortable to move away from like your family and your community because it's like something that so many people like desire and want. And like people with a South Node in Gemini, they have that already, and it's just so comfortable and so supportive. Natalie, yes, Southern Gemini grew up in a small town. Some people love it. Other people are like, I never looked back. Like, I left that town. I left my family like the minute I could. Oh, and now you're traveling. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'll like pause here and I'll do a couple more examples, but I'm gonna go through each of them. Like I said, there's like a lot of stuff to cover. I'm like, oh wait, I gotta check the time. Yeah, lots of stuff to cover. So let's talk about your placements. If you have a north node in a fire sign, you're really meant to kind of like take the lead, be more creative, like take more risk. A northern Aries, like really stepping into your visionary nature, finding a way to like lead. It could look like doing something that's like in the military, like fitness related, something that just like is very exciting. It's like something risky. Which I know can feel very uncomfortable. A northern in Leo is meant to step into the spotlight. So being like a content creator, being a coach, a creative, a performer, at the very least, feeling more comfortable and being seen. Northern Sagittarius, we covered that. Traveling and writing and learning and teaching, those are big things. Earth sign. So with the North Node in Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, you are really meant to be more of this world because you have a South Node in a water sign. So you're always kind of floating around and like dreaming and like very creative, perhaps like late to things as well. Naturally very intuitive, naturally very empathic, and you're supposed to use your intuitive skills, your psychic abilities to create something that is tangible and manifest something into your life. With the North Node in Taurus, I find that they are really learning how to find stability from within and that they can stand on their own 2 feet, that they don't really have to rely too much on other people. And that sense of empowerment comes from within. And they could be working in like luxury goods, something very tangible, real estate, architecture, like home decor. It could be a chef, working in finance and like food. Northwood and Virgo covered that a little bit. Operations, virtual assistant, logistics, a product manager. Capricorn. Now, North Node in Capricorn is very interesting because if you have a North Node in Capricorn, you feel very conflicted. You're very family oriented, you're very caring towards others, but you're supposed to be a little bit more selfish in this lifetime. And I know you have a lot of different ideas, and it's not about choosing one, it's about having multiple businesses. North Node in Capricorn, like if you have a Capricorn stellium, you are meant to have more than one business. Like you're supposed to have like a holding company. Okay. Air signs. North Node in Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. An air sign for a North Node is very cerebral. It's very social. It's one that likes to take in a lot of information. With the North Node in Gemini, instead of kind of like running around getting distracted by going from here to there and like constantly learning, it's about sharing what you know already and really cultivating your communication skills in a different way. It could be creating your own content, working in media, being an influencer, something like that. A North Node in Libra uh, is a very much so a sign that's learning how to build relationships and that they don't have to do things alone. They could be building community, working in beauty, working in fashion, something social, being a lawyer, being a diplomat. A North Node in Aquarius is learning how to be selfless, focusing on doing good for the community, for issues they really care about, and really embracing the fact that they do things very differently, and that they can really see a different future for all of us. Okay, what is Danielle saying? That's funny because I'm a triple cap and I feel that energy in general. Another thing that I wanted to note, now that Danielle like mentioned that comment, is not only does the South Node tell you like kind of like an energetic signature, personality signature that you may not be aware of, if you have a stellium, that also is a big influence too. So it's three or more planets in a sign or in a house. Let's say you have three planets in the second house, you are very focused on stability. So you may exhibit lots of Taurus like uh, personality traits or desires. And let's say you have like Gemini and like your like three planets are in Gemini. That means like you're super social, like you're kind of probably have ADHD, you're easily distracted, like you like don't like to be bored, you're always wanting to move on from one thing to the other and like multitasking. So that's just something important to note. And then finally, we have water signs. So North Node in Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, all North Node water signs are learning how to embrace their creativity, their intuition, like feminine energy, the divine feminine. A North Node in Cancer is learning to, not be an overworker because their South Node is in Capricorn and focusing more on things related to caring for others, cultivating their emotional understanding of self and others, learning like about intuition, maybe being a therapist, something related to home or education or teaching or being of service. North Node in Scorpio, psychologist, a researcher, a consultant, learning how to really harness their emotions and allowing themselves to feel powerful in a sea of change and transformation. And then, of course, the North Node in Pisces. I've done that example a couple times, like allowing yourself to explore what it means to be like an artist, a musician, tapping into your psychic abilities, and just to have more time to imagine and to dream. All right. So I have this handy dandy list of different like job titles, like industries, so that you can get some inspiration on like, let's say you have a North Node in Virgo. That means that you're not only learning how to be more organized, be more detail oriented, but you perhaps can be working in this space as well. Or you could be starting a business that is related to Virgo tendencies, and skill sets. And what is really helpful if you're just like, I don't really relate to my Northern whatever, that's normal too. There's a lot of other parts of your chart that can give you more insights on the type of business that you can create, but I find that the North Node is really like a wonderful placement to start off with. What I would recommend is you become friends with someone who exhibits a lot of the characteristics of like Leo. If your North Node is in Leo, or if your North Node is in Aquarius, finding people who like do their own thing, who are quirky and imaginative and innovative, like probably working in technology. And then here is a slide that shares characteristics. And you can view this slide as one that helps you to understand, oh, like a North Node in Libra, I'm meant to be more relationship driven, learning about like how to be like stylish, to be diplomatic and social, like really having an eye for design. Natalie, three planets, Sag in the fifth house. Oh, so you're definitely doing something creative and probably teaching something creative as well. A lifelong learner. Jody says this slide is super helpful. It also, yes. Jody likes the organization. I think because you said you have Scorpio in the sixth house. So yes, you have some Virgo tendencies with a South Node in Scorpio in the sixth house. Nice and organized. And this whole presentation is an embodiment of my South Node in Virgo. Day. So should I focus on luxury travel with Sagittarius, like North Node in the second house? So with the North Node in Sagittarius, you're learning how to travel. In the second house, yes, and also it's kind of like you can view it as like finding ways for like let's say everyday luxury as well, and you're learning how to feel more confident and more worthy, and also just like improving your money mindset. That's like something else like you are working on. Fatima says, if Libra South Node is in the first house, does that make me like an Aries, therefore easier to embody Aries traits? Yes. It can be very nuanced in terms of like that means like your North Node is in Aries in the seventh house. And the first house is ruled by Aries, and the seventh house is ruled by Libra. And with Fatima's placement, that means like her lessons are much more nuanced. So with a South Node in Libra in the first house, like she is learning that certain relationships aren't good in her life, but that she needs to really step into a place of empowerment and kind of leading in certain relationships. And with the North Node in Aries in the seventh house, it's about like, yes, seeking like leadership in the right relationships and like leading others and allowing yourself to be much more discerning and stepping away from people-pleasing tendencies and like the feelings of like obligation. Okay. This is the last part, reading your business chart. Now, I understand that some of you may not have like your businesses yet and you're still noodling. So this is something for you in the future. So don't worry about not having that information. But for those who do have like a business or a side hustle, you can figure out your business birth info in a couple different ways. What I always like to emphasize is that it's really just a time that resonates with you. Sometimes it's easier just to have that digital timestamp from like an email or like, well, yeah, mostly like an email or maybe even like a text message, something like that. And it could be like when you joined Instagram, made your first sale, when you registered for like an EIN, and some people it's like I've spoken to, they're like, oh yeah, this like became my business because they had like acquired it or bought it when like the old owner like finally like stepped down and sent me like a text message being like, I'm ready to do this. Other people is when they like sent in their resignation letter to their corporate job. Sometimes people are like, I was just like on the beach and that was when I felt like this was the time. Like it was time. Like I wanted to do this. So really, it can be any time that resonates with you. And what I find helpful when looking at a business birth chart is that think of it as like you're an actor, and this is part of understanding like the character that you need to be in like the movie that you're starring in. So, understanding your business birth info allows you to understand who you need to be so that the business can be successful. When you have both reports in front of you, so like whether it's like the free or expanded, you can start to see and recognize, like just reading like the first page, even if you don't really have any astrological knowledge, you can start to see what might be conflicting, what might cause friction. Oftentimes, what I've seen this a bunch of times with people. Their personal chart has no Leo, or it might have like a Chiron in Leo, so they don't really like to be in the spotlight. And then their business is like North Node in Leo, Sun in Leo, Mercury in Leo. And so you may find that if this is representative of your chart and your business chart, it means that you are meant to be stepping into the spotlight, to be more like, let's say, in a sales or marketing role, to be more just like like being the face of your business. And if you aren't the face of your business, then there's like can be a bit of like stagnation and slowness to how it's like developing, and you will be frustrated. So our businesses are really meant to allow us to grow and expand. It is very much so like just such an incredible way of understanding yourself, understanding all of your like fears and anxieties, and stepping into your worth and your power. Oh, Sophia says, is a sign or house mo more important? They're all very important. I just won't have time to cover like the houses. You can view the planet or like the luminary as what is happening in your birth chart, and the sign being like how it's happening, and then the house being like where it's happening. And says for a YouTube channel, is this when it was created or monetized? It really depends on you. I recommend that you like sit with it and meditate, and like when did it feel like real for you? When did you feel like the commitment was present? You're like, I'm gonna do this. And it doesn't have to be like the time when you're like doing this all in. It's like, I think I'm ready to take the next step and just starting the account. And honestly, like this birth info can change. So I started my business around 6 or 7 years ago. Woo Woo Company has its own like birth chart. And then with Saturn, where you've been able to generate your free career astrology reports, that is another birth time that I use to figure out like, okay, in this tech-enabled part of the business, and that's very astrology focused, like what does it need? Like what does it desire? What are some of the things that I can look to understand it a lot better? So you could have multiple like business birth charts, especially for my North Node and Capricorn friends, if you're starting multiple businesses or there was such a strong pivot that you feel like it's a bit different. Something interesting to note is like when I do corporate workshops, I've done a couple with YouTube and an Amazon subsidiary. So what I've done is I look at YouTube's birth chart when it first was like created by the original founders. And then I look at the birth chart of the acquisition of YouTube by Google to give them insights to, oh, if you are working like within YouTube at Google, like this is what the business is like, like this is what Google wants YouTube to be. But when you go back to look at YouTube's original birth chart, you understand like the essence and like kind of like the original true vision of YouTube. And comparing the two, you can see certain types of conflict of like, oh, like, like is this congruous with like, the original kind of like desire of what YouTube wanted to be. And then for those like people who've been at YouTube for a very long time, like how do they feel about like how Google wants to shape YouTube? So that's like another thing as well. Okay, so I have an example here of like a chart. So let's say that this is like a business birth chart. This business has a sun in Gemini, a moon in Cancer, a Libra rising, a Venus in Gemini, a Northern in Gemini in the eighth house, and multiple Scorpio placements. So what I see is that this business could be a really successful business in terms of doing something in the healing space and sharing how they have healed, and having a very strong social media presence. And it could also look like a media company, an influencer company that consults for various businesses and various content creators because that Libra rising is very social, like has a strong network. A moon in Cancer is very intuitive, allows people to feel very safe and very seen. And let's say a sun in Gemini is someone who's just like naturally social, amasses a lot of information. And with the Venus in Gemini as well, they're really like attracting a lot of other people who are also like sharing and seeking information. And one of the best ways for them to market because of the Venus in Gemini, is going to be through social media and sharing information. Um, it could look like the trajectory of this business could look like this person, like let's say, started off their business as a creator, as an influencer, and they began to take on like other like clients to help them do the same thing, or taking on like other content creators and making kind of like a content house, or kind of like teaching other creators how to do something that they've already been like really good. That multiple Scorpio places that they're going to be really helpful and helping people break free from like the past, like karmic patterns, and helping them to like really, really deeply heal. That's an example. And so I have again a list here, and then I also had like another slide. She may have like disappeared where I wanted to share. Oh, actually no, it's here. I just like skipped it by accident. So with a business chart, it's different than when you're looking at your own chart. So like a sun purse for your personal chart, it's about what you need to like thrive, what makes you like feel like, like how you come alive. And for the sun for like a business chart, it's like business personality and like where and how it shines. The moon sign is what needs to thrive and how the business makes people feel. The rising is like brand vibes and first impressions. So from like a marketing standpoint, you can see it as like, oh, like it could be like fonts, it could be like colors. Mercury is like the communication style, some more information about like the branding guide and like marketing insights. Venus gives insights into the types of clients and partnership it attracts, and also how to be like more magnetic. Mars, like how to take action, how to build momentum. So if you ever feel stuck in your business, looking at the business's like Mars placement helps you understand like, oh, how can I get back on that like that momentum, and also how can I get unstuck, and like how does the business like to get things done and how it likes to lead. And then the North Node is about like purpose and about mission. And when you start to understand and read like things about your business chart, then naturally you can kind of compare it to your own personal chart and kind of see like, oh, how is this different, how is this the same. Questions. Let me check the chat. MC says North Node in Capricorn, and my business idea and website purchase was also in Capricorn on January 8th. I love that. Very aligned. I'd be curious to know the North Node, unless like you started it this year. If you started this year, that means actually this year. Ooh, interesting. That means the North Node for your business is actually an Aries. So it's meant to be like leading in the industry that you've chosen. Because on January 11th, that's when it shifted. It was the 11th or the 17th. That's when it shifted into Pisces. So January 8th, it was still in Aries. So North Node in Aries. Let me go back to this page so you can see all the different examples. Actually, on my Instagram, I have my most recent post is about like reading your business birth chart. So currently, I don't have a separate like business like astrology report. That's something that I've made for a couple different clients, but it's not something that I've done quite yet. And then like the current expanded career astrology report um, can be done for a business and just allows you to understand more from like, okay, who do I need to be successful in this business? So it's something that I'm working on doing. It's a lot of writing. I write all these things. All right. This is just the same slides from before to kind of help you understand like from the business perspective of like, oh, if the North Node is in Virgo or like it's in like Leo, just to have these examples up again. All right, that is all I have for you today. Okay, let me stop the recording as well. Oh, we're a little over, but I will take two questions. I have time for two questions. Okay, Nana says, Northra, do you know where it was in 2023? Yes. It should have been in Aries. You're welcome, Bianca. You're welcome, Alexis. I will follow up with the replay, and then if you really enjoyed this workshop, I do these types of things in the membership. So would love to see you in there. I'll be focusing more on more business things like next month. You're so welcome. All right, looks like I answered a lot of questions already, so thank you so much for joining. And I think the next, I'll have to noodle on what I want to do for like the next one, but I think I'll have it even earlier, probably 9 a.m. Pacific, for those on the East Coast as well as those internationally. It'll be an even better time. You're so welcome, Sophia. All right, stay in touch, everyone. I want to know how your business is, grow and flourish, and I'll see you all soon.